The David Pakman Show at davidpakman.com.
So we have sort of closure on a Stormy Daniels story. It's not the main Stormy Daniels story, but this is actually, this is one of the crazier stories relating to Stormy Daniels. So backstory, Stormy Daniels is an adult film actress, or maybe former, I don't know if she's still active in the industry, who had an affair with Donald Trump. She was then paid a whole bunch of hush money from Donald Trump via his now incarcerated personal attorney. Or actually, no, is he incarcerated already? No, I think he may not be reporting. Does he not report until March, or was it last March? Now I'm totally, I don't even know how much time has gone by. Is he already in prison? I guess he is.
I was under the impression that he was in prison currently, but now you're making me question myself.
In any case, the guy who is or soon will be in prison, Michael Cohen, gave her the money and, the whole thing. So later on, this crazy thing happened where she was appearing at a strip club in Columbus, Ohio, and she was arrested there. And supposedly she was arrested because she made physical contact with a customer, and you're not supposed to do that. That starts to border into prostitution or whatever the case may be. And we later found out that it all appeared to be a political pre-planned sting, where we started wondering, why were the police even there? And then we found out about advanced communication involving the police, and they were already planning to do this. In any case, she has now reached a settlement for $450,000 over the arrest that took place there. And in exchange, she will drop all claims. And this is, listen, I'm not about people going around demanding hundreds of thousands of dollars from government or from corporations when it's not warranted. It really appears, Pat, like this was a pre-planned, concerted effort to go after her specifically when police found out she was coming to town.
Yeah, and you also have to give some sort of pause whenever you talk about suing a city, right? Because you don't want to take away public resources where they're most needed. But she definitely had a case here, and the cops here definitely did something wrong. I think they should be fired if they haven't already been. And yeah, this settlement does seem to make sense to me. It is a lot of money, but given what she had to go through and the legal costs associated with it, the fact that this was made into a national story for weeks, I think that does warrant the $450,000 number.
And consider the number of people involved here, because this was, I'm using the term colloquially, not necessarily legally, this was a conspiracy involving a whole bunch of officers. We've seen the emails, we've heard about the phone calls and or text messages and whatever. In the end, when you have numerous people that are supposed to be representing the city, law enforcement officers, etc., being involved in what is effectively a partisan political hit job on an individual with fake trumped up charges. Remember, they were misdemeanor charges to begin with, but they were totally fake and phony, to quote our president. $450,000 doesn't seem that crazy when you consider the number of public officials that are involved. I don't know. Now, does she, people get into, does she deserve the money? And it's I don't know that that's even the right terminology to be applying here. It's what is the seriousness of the allegations against the public officials?
Yeah, she was a victim in this case, so she deserves to get something. And you can debate what that exact number is, but this is what they settled on, $450,000. Seems to make sense to me. I guess that before this, she was in some sort of financial trouble, too. There was the lawsuits, and she was being defended by Michael Avenatti. And of course, that went sour. So
although I don't think she was paying him, I think that he was defending her pro bono or representing her pro bono, if I recall correctly.
Oh, that's good. So then he doesn't have a chance to rip her off like he did with so many of his other clients. Stormy Daniels, she has been through a lot. Certainly nothing worse than having sex with President Trump. That just sounds terrible. So I'm glad she's able to get something out of all of this.
So there is the sometimes idea that if you are not in a place where there is an acute water contamination, so Flint, Michigan has been a place where for years there have been water contamination issues. It's been national news. It's still not resolved. But a lot of us just assume if there's not an acute water contamination scandal, the water is fine to drink. And there is new information that this may not be the case. U.S. drinking water being contaminated with a variety of different chemical pollutants may be responsible for more than 100,000 cases of different types of cancers, according to a peer-reviewed study from the Environmental Working Group. This is a study that looked at 22 carcinogenic contaminants found nationally in drinking water. They looked at 48,000 community water systems in the United States. And they found that there are water pollutants that are there that cumulatively can be contributing factors to or responsible for cancers. The most common one is arsenic, as well as disinfection byproducts, plus radioactive elements like uranium and radium. Typically, the water systems with the highest risk are the ones serving smaller communities and relying on groundwater. Of course, groundwater more easily contaminated by things people are spilling and disposing of, and industry, important not to put the blame all on people. And there are also some large surface water systems that contribute to those that are riddled with these disinfection byproducts. So, I mean, it's like, what can we do, Pat? Does this mean we need to just drink bottled water? I don't even know that this stuff is removed from bottled water, to be totally honest.
Yeah, apparently a water filter helps. So maybe get a Brita. That's step one.
Yeah.
Also, we got to step up government testing of this sort of thing. Like apparently the government's good at like testing these individual chemicals, but the problem is that these chemicals are compounding, as chemicals can do, and those compounds are not necessarily tested. So I think that's another place that we have to start here.
There's that.
I mean, it's good that
one
we
other
know
thing,
about
though,
it,
Pat,
though,
also
now.
on that is that you can have a safe level. You can identify in a gallon of water what is the acceptable level of a certain chemical. But then what you have to consider is there's a cumulative effect of consuming that for year after year after year, along with other chemicals, as Pat is suggesting in some of these compound forms. I mean, listen, is it just that the regulations aren't strict enough? Is that potentially part of it?
Yeah, maybe that's part of it. Yeah, and apparently this stuff can stay into your system for 70 years. So that's effectively a human lifetime.
Yeah.
I think it's just that we have to step up our regulation on this stuff. I mean, if we can't even get clean water in Flint, I don't see us being able to test for carcinogens in the tap water of many other jurisdictions around the country.
We have also to consider that when you look at public utilities, you get into, I mean, I don't want to, all of these water systems are different. So I'm not saying anything about any particular one, but we know that there is a lot of corruption when it comes to public utilities in general and departments of public works. Yes, more in big cities than in small towns. But even if you establish strict enough or stricter guidelines, you still have just a lot of status quo, old boy politics that also makes me question how strictly stuff is enforced. But that's not a unique problem to water systems. That's more of a problem of, I don't know, American cronyist society or whatever. I have a water filter. I use a Brita thing, and I really try to remember to replace it often because from what I've read, Pat, they are only effective if replaced regularly. And I know a lot of times that's like pro-corporate stuff to get you to buy filters more regularly. I'm going to take the chance. It's like $20 for 3 filters. I'm going to replace them on a regular schedule.
I've just been drinking tap water this whole time, and my friends get after me over it. They say that you have to filter the water. You can't trust that Boston tap water. And I've just kind of like, you put it aside. I like how it tastes. I'm okay with it. But after seeing this study, I think I'm going to have to get a Brita. There's just no excuse for it now.
Now, I don't even know that filtering water with a Brita really changes the taste, does it? I guess I've never really tried it one way or the other.
Maybe I like the taste of the actual contaminants. Maybe that gives it a little extra flavor that I'm going for. Because, you've seen that thing where in blind taste tests, oftentimes people choose like city tap water over filtered bottled water.
Sure.
And that's just crazy.
It might be the contaminants all along that are making it taste so good. Yeah, we'll have to investigate that. Sandusky, Ohio is a small city on the shores of Lake Erie, and they have made the decision to declare Election Day a paid holiday, swapping it out for Columbus Day. They've been negotiating around this for years, and these are negotiations that started in 2014 with unions representing police, firefighters, and municipal workers. And they suggested, what if we get rid of Columbus Day as a paid holiday, but giving up a paid holiday, especially for political reasons that not everybody agrees with, some people dislike Columbus Day, was a non-starter. So now they've come up with the idea for the 2019 to 2021 negotiations to replace Columbus Day with Election Day. The unions agreed, and they are going to do it. Of course, the sticking point was Columbus Day is a Monday, meaning it gives you a 3-day weekend. Tuesday, which is Election Day, is a Tuesday, of course, And that doesn't give people a 3-day weekend, but they decided that the civic purpose, the support of voting behind it, made it a worthwhile trade-off, and they are going to do this. I think that this is interesting, Pat, although I've said before, I also wonder whether we're really going to get more out of putting the election on a weekend. In my birth country of Argentina, I believe Sunday is the day that people vote. Of course, voting is mandatory there, completely different scenario. I don't know how much making it a paid holiday will do to increase voter turnout. It will do some, there's no question about it. But from the studies I've read, you need a comprehensive approach that includes more than just one change.
Well, I think making Election Day a holiday is a lot easier than going through the process of moving Election Day to a Sunday.
Sure.
Because it says in the Constitution that Election Day is to be held on Tuesday.
Right.
And so this just seems like an easier path forward. So far, like this change in Sandusky, Ohio, that's only going to affect 250 city workers. So it's kind of just like a gesture at this point.
Major victory.
Yeah, but I hope other cities, other states follow suit. And also, like, do we even have to trade in Columbus Day? Like, can't we just have Columbus Day? Maybe change it to Indigenous Peoples Day, but just add a new holiday. Like, I think we haven't added a new holiday since Martin Luther King Day. Maybe it's time for another one.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I am always up for holidays. The thing is, I'm sure that the argument that would be made is if you have particularly large cities with thousands or tens of thousands of city workers, that the cost of an additional paid holiday for everybody would be staggering and it would crush the budget or whatever. I'm not saying that that's true, but I'm telling you that that's definitely the argument that would be made.
Yeah, and this is the result of long negotiations. So I'm sure that was one of the things that this group had to concede, that the workers' groups had to concede. All in all, though, I'm in support of the change, even if it does mean sacrificing Columbus Day. You got to get people out to vote, and we know how this sort of thing discourages poorer people, because if you can't take off time to vote, then you're not going to do that. You're going to just stay at work, and it means that the rich and well-off can go off and go to the polls, can vote, and the poor people necessarily can't.
Now, typically, we don't always take off Columbus Day. Sometimes we do, sometimes we don't. I'm looking at the calendar for this year. I don't see that we are off on Columbus Day. Now, of course, I am the one who makes this determination, and I don't really remember going through the thought process, but I guess we have to talk about that, right?
I'm seeing on our calendar Monday the 14th, which is Columbus Day this year, no show Columbus Day.
Oh, are you serious?
I'm serious. I think we're taking it off.
You know what? You're right. You're right. It does say what I'm looking at the show calendar. We have a notice that says no show Columbus Day, but I've not removed the show from the calendar, which I've now done. So I think, okay, well, I guess we are off on Columbus Day. Jeez.
Well, that's good.
Always
I can go through with my
people.
vacation plans then.
It always angers people. Oh, did you have plans for that weekend?
No, I'm just joshing you now.
Oh, all right. Well, maybe I'll go up to Montreal or something like that. I don't know. In any case, I guess we are off on Columbus Day. It's funny how I've made these determinations and I've done them in confusing ways and I don't remember them. And then it's like new. I've forgotten about it. So it's almost like it's the me from 6 months ago who arrives and tells the me from today what it is that we're doing. And it's like it's a completely different person because I just have no recollection of having gone through it. In any case, that's what's going on in Sandusky, Ohio. That's what's going on at the David Pakman Show. And we will be back with a new show and a new bonus show tomorrow.
The David Pakman Show at davidpakman.com.